I have to say that when Insomniac's Marvel Spider-Man 2 really did not meet up to my expectations, I started to worry about how Wolverine was going to be treated. Nonetheless, there was no way I could have seen that we were going to be getting a Blade video game, even after Ubisoft went online and an actor that people presumed was going to be in a Blade video game basically denied that they were working on a video game. And correctly so, Ubisoft did not seem to, however, be working on a Blade video game. It was Arcane Leon. This is a Bethesda studio that is now under Microsoft that's going to be working on this video game title. And for many of you who may or may not know, even though I'm a big Batman fan, and you guys have seen a lot of Arkham content on my channel, I like the Batman family. These are some of my favorite superheroes. I have to tell you that if you did not know, now you know that Blade is absolutely one of the first superheroes that I basically think I developed an affinity to, especially in the sense that I didn't even know that Blade was a Marvel hero. I didn't even know he was a superhero. And so for the longest time, I'd always thought, my favorite superheroes were Batman and Superman and all of the DC characters, right? And Blade. I just thought Blade was just this other character. So eventually coming of age and learning that, Blade is actually a superhero because of the way he's written. It doesn't necessarily seem to appeal to mainstream. It was actually very refreshing to figure out that, I've always liked this character. We basically got I don't know, 90-second trailer, maybe even less. Actually, not even 90 seconds. Actually, much less than 90 seconds in terms of a teaser. And I really wanted to go through and, pretty much dissect this a little bit in the sense that there are a lot of things that we need to talk about. Some of the things that are prevailing are, is it going to be an Xbox exclusive? I don't think that's really important, ladies and gentlemen. If it's going to be an Xbox exclusive, great. If it's not going to be an Xbox exclusive, even greater. Everybody gets to play the game. And we're no longer talking about the quality of the game in a vacuum, if you get what I mean. That way everybody can actually play the game, or more people can actually play the game, and we can get a better sense of how, these games should be made. However, if it is going to be an exclusive, then this is the market that, is now prevailing. Both studios, both publishers, I guess I should say it, the PlayStation and Xbox publishers have, valued exclusives in one form or the other, with PlayStation pretty much taking it to a whole different level, padding their, release cycles with a lot of timed exclusives. Now that Bethesda is owned, by Microsoft, I guess that's probably what we're going to expect. But nonetheless, it's not going to be a game that's difficult for people to access. And we can always talk about that later on. Now, what did we get here in this Blade trailer? Number one, the setting and the world. Now, for those of you who followed Blade in any form or any medium, I mainly from the movies and say possibly other, animated series where he may have shown up in one way or the other. I think we can usually just, approach the matter and say Blade is an American hero. His writing, his development, and his setting is in this part of the Western Hemisphere. However, this Blade iteration that we're seeing is going to be set in France. Basically, the author and basically the game director or creative director, who is one of the big names in charge, pretty much said that he's basically, happy to see this game set in his hometown of Paris. So expect to see Blade, parler in français once in a while, or dishing a little bit of souffle when it comes to the vampires. I'm being silly, ladies and gentlemen, but it is quite interesting to see that this character is going to be put in this context, in this world. And the beautiful thing about this is, I think we're going to be moving into a perspective where Arcane's art is going to now appeal to a broader audience. What I mean by this is, if many of you know, Arcane has mainly done first-person games with their Dishonored game and Deathloop games. These are first-person games. But now we're going to be seeing them actually work on a third-person game. A third-person game has a different kind of immersion, as well as a first-person game, pretty much keeps its own immersion in a separate bubble. But at the end of the day, this is a perspective that people are looking forward to see Arcane in. Their art style is actually quite unique. It, really does accentuate the world and emphasizes a lot more on art. And so we're going to be seeing this from this perspective with the superhero in, this particular, paradigm. So I'm really excited and I'm looking forward to it. Now, there is one thing that's quite peculiar about this trailer, ladies and gentlemen, and I think it's the fear factor that is actually put in this particular trailer. I'm convinced that we are going to get a Blade that is very true to as much source context as can possibly be, provided, especially now that we've taken it out of locational context. It's now in this new environment that I've never seen before. This may be in a different, it may be in a comic somewhere that Blade, goes to France or something. I'm not a comic reader, so anybody that can point me to some literature, I'll be happy to go pick it up and read, because I want to orient myself with this stuff. But the fear factor is actually a big deal here. This is showing that this barber is, I don't know what it is anxious for something. I don't know if he's anxious for the fact that he finds out that, Blade is a vampire, but a daywalker. And so that's a little intimidating. Or potentially he is an information source that Blade has now approached and is now has probably gotten information from, and is like, okay, well, you've given me this information. I'm going to go out there and take on bad guys. Or possibly, he is now become an asset for Blade. Basically, he maybe have been working for the vampires and Blade has basically turned him into an informant for him. So this may be kind of like your mission giver or your intel source in the game. But he is somewhat intimidated by the fact that Blade is there. If you even look at it, he's scared, right? And this is very significant, ladies and gentlemen. You got to understand this kind of picturesque moment where somebody who's scared of another character having the opportunity to be able to turn against that character but doesn't dare do it, it shows the amount of intimidation that character brings, because he's got that blade right on Blade's neck and can literally slit the man's throat, but he is like, no, I'm just gonna help him just get that fresh edge over there, and then everything turns into nightmare mode, and the guy's like, oh, even worse. You see, he's like stopped, but Blade's like, it's time to go eat. And this is the character, this is the superhero that many of us have actually come to like and actually come to be used to and come to have this affinity to. I just can't say how much I'm really pleased to have seen that this is the direction that we're going to be seeing Marvel games go. DC games, for the most part, has kind of sat stale because they don't have enough manpower to be able to boost out multiple titles as fast as Marvel is. Not because Marvel has the development power, they just understand that they have the IP quantity and they are ready to just give the IPs to studios who are capable of making the games and putting the Marvel sticker all over the place. If you get what I mean. I mean, EA wants to do an Iron Man game. Then they want to do a Black Panther game. Then there's going to be a Captain America Black Panther game. Now there's going to be a Blade game. And Sony has already taken the Spider-Man game and run with it for the last few years with the Wolverine game coming. Now Bethesda has come into the whole thing wanting to do a Blade game. And DC is pretty much sitting on one major superhero title and another anti-hero title, which is Wonder Woman and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, respectively. So this is very significant if you look at a broader picture in regard to the way things are. It's not just the fact that Blade is going to be an exclusive. I think that might be a little short-sighted if we only look at it from that perspective. We got to look at it from the side of the IPs, the side of the way competition has been going, even between Marvel and DC, because this really resonates on a bigger level. It gives Marvel one more leg up. I guess I shouldn't even say one more leg up. I think they're now in a whole different story building, even though the cinematic side of Marvel has been struggling and suffering. When it comes to the gaming side, the story is much different, if you get what I mean. I think they really have a hold on the gaming side, and they're just taking the reins and leaving Warner Brothers in the dust. Warner Brothers knows what to do. There are a lot of studios who would happily take on, all kinds of different, IPs and superheroes from the DC side, but they may just not have terms that are favorable to them. Number one, that's the thing. It's about the terms. You gotta cut the studios a good amount of slack so that they can actually take the risk, and then when it's time to share profits, they should also be able to take the lion's share. Because Marvel, they're only risking the name of the character that they've basically abandoned for the last few years after all of the mergers and everything came into effect. But Xbox is going to be putting up the money, putting up the manpower, and Arcane could be doing Dishonored 3. So at the end of the day, they take the bigger risk, and DC has to understand that the risk takers are willing, but you got to cut them a fair deal. But this is just a by the wayside type of conversation that relates to this, and I probably maybe want to go ahead and deal with that in a different video. However, I just wanted to take time to just highlight this and say, this was actually quite interesting to see, and I think this particular game stole the show. This is the first time I've seen something like this. A game that's coming out of nowhere, coming out of studio that's actually made, very decent games, but not necessarily the usual, diets that they throw at everybody's face with the realistic, all of the pizzazz and all of the flash and all those games. Yes, we saw, Senua's Saga and all the other games show up there, but to see a Blade game, it didn't even matter if it was whatever it was just quite nice. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what it is that you think so far. Hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about this. Maybe we'll talk about the Xbox side and the PlayStation side just to be able to cover other angles. And I'm sure you guys have some interesting thoughts in the comment section. Please share them with me. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.